Hey there, everybody. Welcome to my booth. I'm Jay. It's Thursday. Today's sample comes to us from Henry. Thanks for sending this in, Henry. We've worked together in coaching, and Henry's a good egg and good actor, as you'll see shortly. Before we dive in, though, if you like this stuff and you find it helpful, you can support it by clicking the buttons and checking out the description. In the description, if you'd like me to review audio of yours, there's a form down there. Fill it out, send me something, and we'll do one of these for you. It takes me about a month to work my way down through the list, maybe a little bit more. I'm very busy at the moment, so please just be patient with me. And then, of course, if you'd like to work one-on-one, there's coaching available on my website, if you so choose. Henry, let's get into these characters, shall we? This is a character demo.
The beaver, nature's architects, murdered by deforestation.
These are truly dark and desperate times. I have worked in this inn since my late father perished 40 years ago, and have never seen a sorrier sight.
Personal log. I've never really been one for history, more of a STEM type. I never looked down on those that pursued history, I just didn't see the attraction. Machines are in front of you, something tangible you can see and hear and touch and interact with.
And with that, we've lost all progress from the past.
Oh, come on. You came back because something about me is worth it. I mean, and this is me being vulnerable here, nobody's ever come back. And like Cheryl said,
Mario was an escape for me. My dad was a junkie. He'd tumble into my room blabbing on about the economy. I'd just sing the Mario theme to drown it out. Every time.
Like I said, Henry, you're killing it. Killing it. All of these characters are great. Your deliveries are pretty darn solid. Your comping together of this whole demo is really nice, I think. So all of that said, I'm going to go pretty nitpicky here. This is going to be really minute. I'm going to get into the minutia is all I'm saying. So for what it's worth, really solid work right out of the gate. So before I forget, just a couple little technical things that may help you a little bit. Having it end abruptly it's just a small touch. If you could fade it out, add a little bit of a fade on that last little bit of music, just to give it sort of a polish at the end there. And then this is something that depends on who you ask regarding demos in general, but having other character or other actors' voices on them, some folks don't like it, others don't take issue. I'm neither here nor there personally, but just because I know that some folks are like, never put another person's voice in your demo. What you've done here, I think, is totally fine because the scene is featuring you more than the other character here. But
And with that,
you may not need it because we do get the sense of who this character is without it. So if I delete it...
you came back because something about me is worth it. I mean, and this is me being...
we still get the sense that he's like a swashbuckling kind of... maybe a little full of himself character that is talking down to this other person or feels very grandiose about it. And we don't necessarily need her set up there. So those are my technical notes. Otherwise, solid work, I think. Now, as far as performance, let's get into the nitty-gritty. My biggest note for all of this, I love your performances overall, and I do think that they work well discreetly in each character works well on their own. My big note for you, and if I remember correctly, you are not an actor, which is, or not traditionally an actor. Correct me if I'm wrong on that front, Henry, but if I remember right, I thought I remember you saying that. But there's something in acting called, for those of you who aren't actors primarily, in acting, there's something called stakes. And what stakes means, it's a sort of jargon term that gets bandied about a lot. You'll hear directors or people say, you gotta raise the stakes. And what they mean when they say that kind of thing is we want to see the heights and lows of human experience. Those are the most interesting moments for us usually, which is why a lot of TV shows and stuff have people in extreme distress or extreme, pits, and they got to find themselves out, or they're in the extremist highs, they're finding the love of their life. So those extremes, the things really, really matter to those folks. And so the stakes is like, it's life or death, pretty much as you can. And that doesn't mean you have to be screaming and shouting or sobbing all the time. It doesn't mean that. It just means that the gravity of the things that are happening should be at a heightened level. So as an example, let's just listen through and we'll talk about where you could maybe adjust, turn the dials up or down in certain ways in order to diversify your performances. Because really what I'm getting to here in terms of the raising the stakes, either up or down, right now a lot of your performances are kind of in a similar timbre, I guess, or register in terms of the energetic level of the characters. And I think if you were to introduce more range there, it would just improve what is already a really great demo for you. So let's listen, and I'll spitball some ideas for raising the stakes if they come up.
The beaver, nature's architects, murdered by deforestation.
So that one I like because it's like, that's kind of an over-the-top character. It's that classic movie trailer voice, which you've got. And yeah, no real notes for that one. My only idea there is starting your demo with it. I don't mind it. I like that you've started it personally with that. But my sort of conventional wisdom with demos is to start it with stuff that's somewhat akin to your natural register, just so we have like, this is the baseline that we're going off of, and now we can go from there. I'm not saying you should change it because I personally love the beaver as a starting point because it really catches your attention. But as a food for thought, you could maybe mess around with moving other spots to the front and see what you like or gets different responses. So no performance notes there. I love this announcer.
These are truly dark and desperate times. I have worked in this inn since my late father perished 40 years ago, and have never seen a sorrier sight.
So in that one, again, all of these things, the reason why I'm saying the raise the stakes deal is important is because if you're lumping all these characters together, we want to see your emotional range as well as your vocal range. So this character, that spot, and the way you've performed it, I think works really well for this character. However, if you were to decide to switch it up, it'd be interesting to know more or have more insight into how this character's feeling in terms of their emotional state here. Because right now I get that they're sort of dispassionate or analytical almost, if those are the right words, about these are truly desperate times. I've never seen a sorrier sight. And that sort of like dispassionate observer character totally jives. And you could try it in a different way if you wanted to have them just be more perhaps distraught about the situation, or maybe they're really sad about the situation, or maybe they're enjoying the situation. That would be an interesting take. These are truly desperate times. I've never seen a sorrier sight. Like, you could go really nefarious with it, depending on how you want to go. But just adding a little bit of emotional context is all I would say for that one.
Personal log. I've never really been one for history, more of a STEM type. I never looked down on those that pursued history, I just didn't see the attraction. Machines are in front of you, something tangible you can see and hear and touch and interact with.
So that one, I love that character that they're talking to themselves, monologuing. That's a really lovely conceit for a scene. And I do think that this little bit,
I never looked down on those that pursued history, I just
where that's a cool character moment where you're flowing through something and thinking about it. I mean, I never looked down on those that liked history, but then the thing that I would direct you, again, I'm going very minutia focused here. Have a bigger switch into when they're talking about why machines are different from history.
never looked down on those that pursued history, I just didn't see the attraction. Machines are in front of you, something tangible you can see.
So I never looked down on those with history, but machines are tangible. They're like right there in front of you. So articulating the differences between history being this sort of abstract study of past events versus something that's real, tangible right here, and letting us feel that difference a bit more, I think would just bump this character's as a suggestion for you. I do think that the read is lovely regardless.
You came back because something about me is worth it. I mean, and this is me being vulnerable here. Nobody's ever come back. And like Cheryl said,
Mario.
So that one, again, I like that this character is somewhat aloof, full of themselves, it sounds like, a bit squashbuckling. They're proving this person wrong. And again, similar to the sort of dispassionate observer that I was talking about earlier, I want more of, or I desire to know more of the conflict here. Like, why is this such an issue? Because if we bring back the lady's speech.
And with that, we've lost all progress from the past.
oh, come on. You came back because something about me is worth it. I mean, and this is me being...
So in terms of, oh, come on. You came back because something, there could be any different way that you wanted to go with it. And again, this is just offering alternative directions. But one way could, if you really dialed up the full of themselvesness, oh, come on. You came back because something about me is worth it, where they're really talking up themselves, really full of themselves. You could really drive that up because right now it's a little bit resting in the middle in a safe zone. And we want you to sort of go to the edge of, man, this guy's an asshole. But you have a natural charm to you that I think will, it sort of pastes over any sort of that we might get from this guy. Oh, come on. You know, you came back because something about me is worth it. We love those roguish characters. So that would be one option to go just dial that section up. The other, you could maybe go in the opposite direction instead of like the charm factor. Maybe he's hurt by this, where she's like, and with that, we've lost everything. Now, this is without me knowing the context of the grander scene. And I know you said this was from a project when we spoke, but if maybe he was hurt by some of this, oh, come on, you came back because something about me is worth it. And besides, no one else has come back. Like the need for her to be there instead of, because right now you're sort of in between those two ranges, I guess. And I want you to go further in one or the other. Either the like, no, you came back because there's a reason. Don't lie to yourself. Look at me. There's that. And then there's also the, how could you say that? That's really, and going into that range. And committing to, and that doesn't mean you have to stick to one. You could bounce back and forth, but we want to see those highs and lows. And then this last section.
And like Cheryl said,
Mario was an escape for me. My dad was a junkie. He'd tumble into my room blabbing on about the economy. I'd just sing the Mario theme to drown it out. Every time.
That one has a lot of good, it's funny because it is kind of a funny thing. I just sing the Mario theme to drown out my junkie dad talking about the economy. So it does have, at least to me, it does have an edge of dark humor to it. But with something with dark humor, I'm not saying you're doing this, but just sort of a note for everybody. With dark humor and stuff like that, you play it straight, meaning you don't have you don't play it with the knowledge that this is funny. You play it for the realness of it, and that the more you commit to the reality of the fact that this man, in order to get over my junkie dad, I just listen to the Mario theme song. I just hum it to myself, drown him out, talking about the economy, GDP. And the deeper you go into that, and with that one, I do think that you give it a good balance, because this character that you've made here, he's clearly like a tough guy who's covering up his feelings. And you know what? Maybe this is the first time I'm opening up about the Mario theme song. I've never talked to nobody about nothing about this Mario theme song. And so with this one, things that you could maybe do to expand on that character, if it is the first time he's ever talked about this, what does that mean?
Mario was an escape for me.
What does it mean that this is the first time he's ever talked to anybody about Mario? It was an escape for me. My dad was a junkie, and he used to come home. And that's a way where that's one instance in where you can raise the stakes. This is the first time he's ever said this out loud to anyone. Maybe it's the first time he's admitting it to himself. And then maybe there's an added layer where the person he's admitting it to is, denigrating video games, saying, video games are worthless, Donnie. You know what? Mario was an escape for me. And that just already gives you a lot of context and emotional gravity to it. And you could choose or come up with any scenario that you want for this character. And an important point, I think, to note is in character demos, you don't have to stick to the context of the scene necessarily if you don't want to. So all of the scenes that you've got here, you can, or with anybody's character demo, you can choose to rewrite the scenario for however you want. So if you want this guy to have, anyway, you can give him new contexts if you find them more interesting, instead of using the given context for whatever the material is. By that, I mean, if this scene was written to him just like sitting at a bus stop talking about Mario, maybe he's, again, confessing to the boss of his crime family or something. This is Tony Soprano talking to, somebody else. That's not a Tony Soprano impression, but you know what I mean. But again, Henry, really, really lovely work, and I'd love to hear how you're doing, so let me know down below. And for the rest of you, I hope this was helpful, and until the next one of these, be well, everybody, and I will see you there. Toodles.